Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cube Vanguard. It's May already. It's the middle of May, and you know what that means. That means VeeamON is coming on strong soon, okay? And we're going to be down there. That's in we, the mighty we. And I said we're going to be down there. I'm going to be down there. And we'll be taking part in a number of activities. So I wanted to comment on them. So first of all, there's a special activity on day 0, which I can't talk about. I don't know if I can or not, but I won't because I haven't been told yes or no. That's day 0, and you'll find out when I'm there when I'll talk about it. And then on the Tuesday, which I guess is day 1, I will be taking part in a tech talk. Where I'll be in the village. I think it's called the Kubernetes. I'm converting everything. It's the Veeam Village. And I'll be talking about Kasten and Kubernetes. I'm also be doing some booth duty too. So there's like a community hub, Veeam Community Hub booth, and I'll be doing some duty there, which I don't know. They promised me some free swag and sandwiches. So I said, okay, and I'll just sit there and people come up and ask me questions. They probably just want swag. They come up and I hope I don't have to scan people's badges. I always felt sorry for people because I don't know about you, but I like to go to conferences and collect a lot of swag. And you kind of feel guilty because you see the really good swag and they want to scan your badge. And you kind of feel guilty if you just go up and scan and run away with the swag. But you don't want to talk to them about buying their product because, if you're an IT person, like technically, you're not going to buy it. You don't have any money to buy it. So sometimes because they're really enthusiastic or they're new on the job, they actually engage you in conversation. And you're going, yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, my goodness, I almost missed my bus. Here, let me get the swag and run. And I feel bad doing that. But I think what they should have is 2 lineups. One for the, well-dressed sales and marketing executive types, Hi, my name's Jeff Burke. Would you like to buy? Can I have 5 minutes of your time for a coffee? And then another line for the IT people, like, yeah, okay, yeah, good, bye, right? Okay, take the swag and run. But I don't know if they'll do that. Anyways, I don't want to waste too much time on that. Anyways, I'll also be doing booth duty on Wednesday, and I think there's some other stuff too. But my schedule will be out there, so that's VeeamON. But next week, guess what's next week? I can't even speak anymore. I was out doing my exercise in the sun, so I might be a bit red because it's in Canada. It's like winter for like 6 months, and the sun comes out, and we all get blown away. Next week is Cube Huddle, okay? Cube Huddle on the 16th and 17th of May here in Toronto at the Convention Center, and I'm going to be doing a talk. All right, they actually accepted me. They figured, geez, how much swag do we have? Well, okay, we can afford them. But yeah, I'll be doing a talk on Tuesday. On the 17th, I'm sorry, I can't remember which day it is, but the 17th at 4:05. It's not very long, it's like a 35-minute talk on Kubernetes application-aware backups. So that'll be fun, and that's next week. Okay, so what about this week? This week, we're going to talk again, we're going to get back to the Kasten documentation, okay? So first of all, let me just show you my little page here. Cube Huddle for next week, I promise, it's May the 17th and 18th, okay? Not the 16th and 17th. I got the date wrong. Oh, God, you're fired, Jeff. No swag for you. So it's the 17th and 18th, and you can buy tickets there. Look, the early birds are sold out. That's wonderful. And it shows the program. I think I'm on the 17th. I better double check. I don't want to show up on the wrong day. That would ruin my career forever. No, it's 4:05, and it's on the Wednesday the 17th. Okay, so 4:05. I'll be there. I'll be there for a little bit of the conference as well. I have to work. I've got a day job too, so I'm kind of like parachute in. And then during the evening, I'll run around and stuff. But I won't be there the whole time, of course. But there'll be tons of interesting people and a lot of fun. Okay. And look at all these people. They put their photos there. A lot of people we know. Look at that. There's this guy, Jeff Burke. There are too many people here that, you all know. Michael Cade, look at that. Michael Cade, he's there. I think I saw Cassandra Ferris from Veeam too. And then there's some, Arat, Haradinov, who is the head of the Kubernetes Canada group, with Marino, I think, as well. All these people, you'll see them, you'll know them. I can go through the list, and they'll all be there too. So that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get now to the documentation, the Kasten documentation. And this week, we're going to start with the accessing K10, okay? And you think, well, accessing K10, you just press the icon and you've accessed it. No, this is Kubernetes. Remember, everything is running inside of the cluster. You have to expose things. You can't just jump into them. If they're not exposed, in other words, put in a location for you to access from the outside world, you can't get in. And there are various ways of doing this. It's not that it's complicated, you just have to get used to it. I know if you set up something in Linux or in Windows, it pops up and it's listening on a port somewhere, right? You just go there and you're happy. Here, no, it's inside the cluster running. So there are various ways to access the dashboard, okay? Now, the simplest ones, if you go to accessing dashboard, this is after we've installed, it's all happily running, we've checked that everything's running, all the pods, then you can go to accessing the dashboard, which is right here. And the simplest, easiest, I'd say non-production way of doing it is to simply port forward. So what's going to happen is that there's a service running, and the service is basically what is exposing this application. It's running inside the cluster. And what you're going to do is you're going to port forward that service to the outside world. And there's a command for that. And here it is. So we're going to do that, kubectl. So I'm using my beloved Rancher desktop with my, which has K3S inside of it. And I am going to do this port forward. I've got the Kasten installed. I've got some applications in there. Everyone's happy. Let me just go back to this here. I was fooling around today. Okay, so let's just take that command. And what I like about, of course, the Kasten documentation is that you don't have to retype this. I mean, it's good practice. Don't get me wrong. If you're going to do the exams, practice typing because you want your fingers to move fast. But if you're not going to do the exams and you're short on time, you can use the copy button right here. See, it says copied. And then all you need to do is to go into your command line, right click. In my case, I'm using Windows Substance for Linux on my laptop. And so it's Ubuntu. So there it is. I'm going to port forward this to 8080. Okay, so let's press that. Port forward. Did I press it? Yes. Okay, and it's being port forwarded. So what does it say? I mean, again, if I want to be lazy, I can do the next thing. Well, I don't have to be lazy. I can just right click here and go to that port. And there we go. There it is. Okay, now how do I get in? Okay, that's the next problem. That's how are you setting up your authorization to get into your Kasten setup, right? And there are various ways of doing that too. Very often, you're going to use something like a token, right? Token is one of the easiest ways. You could use basic authentication, but it's not really good for production because it's the same thing you use in an Apache web server. You know, we get the HTTP pass file, whatever. So token authentication I'm using. You can use, of course, other things like, and I've done some posts on this on the hub, like external authentication, Okta, Auth0. You can even get up your own key cloak and use OpenID Connect. But we're just going to use token authentication. Okay. And the thing is that it used to be that this token would be created automatically during install. Now there's a change Kubernetes, which I've talked about before, and you have to create the token yourself. So what I'm going to do is open another Ubuntu here. I've actually created a token, but it's somewhere in my list up there. So I'm going to recreate it. So I'm going to do a Control-R to go back in my commands. K, create, and see I've done it before. So I found it right away. K, create token. That's for kubectl. You can do K if you're using aliases. Create token, Kasten, namespace, K10. K10 is the service count and the duration 24 hours. I can put 100 hours if I wanted to, and this will create a token. And I'm going to take this little token, copy it by doing a right click, and then I'll stick it in here, and it will be happy, hopefully. Voila, there's my Kasten dashboard. You see I have some workloads running, and there we are. Okay, now if I then kill that, i.e. I go back and kill the port forward, boom, it's gone. Okay, so that's one of the ways you can get it. It's the simplest way. Not really what you want to do in production to be port forwarding, to be honest. But at the same time, if you're just doing tests, whatever you can. Now, you know, there are different ways. You can go through, you can access through a load balancer. And basically what that's going to be is you're going to create the service and you are going to create it as a load balancing service, okay? Which you can do because if you do in the Helm command, when you're installing Kasten, if you see here, set external gateway create true, it will create a load balancing service. The problem with that though is you have to have a load balancer which will give you an external IP, okay? Now, many of you know MetalLB, which is a great setup for vanilla Kubernetes, like if you kubeadm, you can use it in anything you want. But generally, for instance, if you're in a cloud setup, you can use load balancer, and then Google or AWS or Azure will give you an IP address. They'll charge you, I believe, for it, so you want to be careful of that. But that's one way to get in there. There are other ways as well, configuring DNS, using external DNS here type. But one of the other ways, most popular, I won't go into all the little bits and bots that you can do to get in there, but is the ingress controller, okay? That's one of the easiest ways and the best ways is just to create an ingress, okay? Now, here it's giving you an example of using Nginx ingress controller, okay? And remember, these are things that you set when you're installing by Helm. They're Helm parameters. You could actually use a values file as well instead of putting in this command line. It's up to you. Now, in my case, and if you're using K3S, or if you're just using traffic to begin with, which K3S uses, then you would change this ingress to ingress class traffic, okay? And that's what I've done. So what does that mean? That means that I can just go right to the URL and K10 and it should work. And when you install, what it will do, in fact, whenever you install anything with Helm Kubernetes, always watch the final screen once the install is completed. It gives you a lot of information. And the Kasten one's no exception. It'll actually tell you, okay, you can access the dashboard through this, that, and the other. It gives you the port forward example as well. But if you've used ingress, it'll show you that as well. So I think I can probably find my install command. Let's go. Well, I can't. But then again, it won't. I don't want to reinstall. So we won't do that. But what I will do is I will clear this and do a k get ing and kasten.io. So I'm getting my ingress in the kasten.io namespace. Okay. And there it is. Okay. There it is. Remember, this is Rancher Desktop on Windows Substance for Linux, right? So it's a little tricky. And that's the IP address that I'm going to use. Okay. I'm not going to use localhost in this case. Windows Substance for Linux, I still don't really understand how all the port forwarding and all that works, but I've got it to work, so I'm not complaining, okay? So here's my K10 ingress. This is a traffic ingress, so let's just describe this to see, whenever you want to see more information, you describe it. So we're going to Kasten namespace, and it's called K10 ingress. I can press tab, it'll find it, and it'll describe it. And as you can see, it was installed by Helm. You can see in the labels right there. When I did the Helm command, I noted that. And if you look at the annotations, it says Kubernetes ingress class traffic, okay? Because that's what I'm using because it's K3S. Okay, so does it work? I don't know, Jeff. I don't believe you. Okay, well, then I will prove it to you. There we go. See that IP address, 172.29.153.133? Well, there it is right there. See, because that's the Windows Substance for Linux one. And I am going to use, for the ingress, it says, if you look here, it's K10 right there. You see the path is K10, right? So I put in the IP address and I put K10 and look what I get. Boom. All right. And I think I still should have my token. And I am in again. Excellent. Okay. So don't be intimidated by it. When I first started dealing with ingress in Kubernetes, I was a bit floored. Like, nothing's working. I can't get it to work. But eventually you figure it out. Ingress and exposing applications to begin with. I mean, the load balancer was the easiest when I had a load balancer. There was actually a while where I didn't understand where my IP address was coming from. Well, it wasn't coming from anywhere. I had installed a load balancer and it wasn't in the cloud. Okay, now the last thing I'll mention here, I've got a little bit of time left, are OpenShift roots. OpenShift is its whole little other animal. It has roots. Very, very good, by the way. Its own ingress kind of setup. And they've got instructions on how to use that here as well. Okay, so that's it for this week. A reminder, this week on the 17th and 18th is Kube Huddle Convention Center in downtown Toronto. And the week after that is VeeamON. So it is packed with activity. After that, we're just going to relax and work really hard at our jobs. We work really hard at our jobs anyways, but now we're working double. But it's worth it. Okay, we will see you next week right before I go to Miami. Bye-bye.